Good morning. Welcome to all my early childhood educators out there. It's Erica Sakoscia with the Childcare Director Chair Podcast. I hope you are having an amazing day. If we have not had a chance to connect, please hop on over to our text to show. I love to hear from you all. Every day you inspire me. You inspire children. You inspire your coworkers. So thank you for all that you do. I am super excited you are here today. Today we're going to focus a little bit on leadership strategies that can help you lead with confidence and create a thriving childcare environment. We're going to talk about the law of the lid. And some of you may have heard of this before if you read John Maxwell leadership books. It's a really powerful leadership law. And the core idea is pretty simple. Your leadership capacity directly affects your effectiveness. And in early childhood education, this law is especially true. Your leadership growth can elevate your team and positively impact the children you serve. And today we're going to go deep into 3 specific strategies that you can use to raise your leadership lid and start seeing results immediately. Now you might be like, Erica, what do you mean lid? Think of a jar that has a lid on it. If that jar is full all the way to the top, you can't put any more in it. Now if you have a bigger jar and the lid is on, but you have some space to put more things in to raise to that lid, you can add more. And so it's a very simple visual concept. It's how your effectiveness helps you run your program. And if your leadership ability is low, your program's potential is limited. In early childhood education, this means that if leadership skills are undeveloped, it's challenging for your team to thrive. And of course, that means the quality of care and education for your children may suffer as well. As a child care director, your leadership affects everything from staff morale to program success. So by raising your leadership lid, this means unlocking more potential, creating growth opportunities, and improving outcomes. So we're going to discuss 3 specific strategies that you can do to help you raise your lid. First and foremost is my favorite, which is investing in continuous personal development. I have been in the field for 26 years, and I continue to take courses, read books. I just very intentionally work on my growth because I know it's directly correlated to how great my program can become. When you raise your leadership lid, it has to start with you. The most effective leaders are committed to their own growth, and that's no different in early childhood education. Leadership development is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process of learning and reflection. Here's why it's important. In childcare leadership, personal development helps you stay adaptable and equipped to handle the evolving challenges of the field. And some folks get really stuck. You think, I've been doing this a long time. I know everything there is to know. That's impossible. Early childhood programs are dynamic with constantly changing needs, from staff turnover to new educational trends. And a leader who is committed to their own growth can better handle these challenges. By continually learning and improving, you increase your own leadership capacity, which in turn positively affects your team and your program and the children you serve. And when you invest in your growth, you lead with confidence and clarity. And your team sees that you're committed to self-improvement, which creates a culture of lifelong learning within the program. Think about the last conference you went to, or the last really great podcast you listened to, or idea that you had after talking with a colleague. How excited you were, how you went back, that energy, that enthusiasm, that intentionality. So let me talk to you a little bit about how do you do this with a little more detail. First, you want to identify specific leadership gaps. Rather than just generally seeking improvement, pinpoint exactly the areas of your leadership where you feel less confident. Maybe it's struggling with difficult conversations. I know that's one that lots of childcare directors have a hard time with because typically we're loving and nurturing people. But sometimes difficult conversations have to happen. Or do you get overwhelmed by program management tasks? I see that too on a lot of posts on Facebook where childcare directors are so overwhelmed with the day-to-day, they couldn't possibly think about adding anything else to their plate. Or perhaps you feel like everything that comes in to that desk has to be done by you, and you're so hesitant to delegate. Be specific about what areas you need development so that you can focus on your efforts on those areas that will have the most immediate impact. Now, one thing that we do here in our state is we create an individual professional development plan. And you should do that whether that's a requirement or not in your state. Set a timeline for your personal development. For example, you could read one book a month on leadership, or you could attend a personal or professional development seminar each quarter. And it doesn't always have to be focused on ECE. So make sure you're thinking bigger outside of the box because you need to have lots of tools in your toolbox. Make your growth a priority. Schedule time in your calendar for learning, whether it's reading, online courses, mentoring sessions. Have a dedicated plan that ensures you make consistent progress. And if you're stuck and you need help and you need a mentor, hop on over to my website, book a time with me. I'll be happy to talk you through or at least help you get started. After every major decision, you want to be reflective. Think about the interaction. Take time to reflect on what went well and maybe what you could have handled differently. This practice helps you spot patterns in your own behavior and identify opportunities for growth. For instance, after a difficult staff meeting, you might reflect on how you handled the situation. Could you have been either more empathetic? Could you have been clearer or more decisive? And if this is a problem for you, another tip that you could do is set some measurable goals. Make sure they're specific. Make sure that they're measurable and also achievable. Make sure they're relevant and time-bound. When you have goals for your own development, you really will succeed. And I am a living proof of that. By the end of the month, I want to attend a workshop on effective communication. Or another goal could be, I will read 2 leadership books in the next 60 days. Setting clear goals helps you keep you accountable and motivated. Now, for myself, I set goals quite regularly. And I have to say, it's one of the things that has really helped me be able to multitask as a multiple location childcare center owner, as a podcaster, as a coach. It helps me stay on my A game. I do a lot of things, a lot of juggling balls. And so time management was an area that I really had to get good at, and consistency as well. And as you can tell, as I put out podcasts day after day, it's a method that works. And that was by intention. There are some days I'm really good at getting multiple podcasts recorded. And then other days I might just only get one. But I make sure that I have a plan. And as I record more, the episodes get better. At least I hope they do. But, I continue to focus on how can I be a better podcaster? How can I bring you the best content? How can I be a better coach? So all those things are things that I do myself. So ask yourself this. Think about a recent leadership challenge that you have faced. What could you have done differently if you had more knowledge or experience in that area? So your action step for today is I want you to identify one area of leadership where you feel you could grow, whether it's communication, conflict resolution, delegation. You can fill in the blanks. Commit to taking one action toward improving that area today. For instance, schedule time this week to read a book or an article related to that challenge, and then reach out to a mentor for advice. And that mentor could be someone right within your program. Maybe there's somebody in your program who communicates really well, and that's the area you struggle with. Ask them if they have 20 minutes, 30 minutes to talk with you about how they've created communication to be such ease for them. Strategy number 2 is cultivating emotional intelligence. I have to tell you, I don't care what system you have, how beautiful your building is, what credentials you have. If you do not connect with people, you will not be a leader who moves to your highest potential. Emotional intelligence is so important, and we have to recognize and understand that we need to manage our emotions. And to understand and influence the emotions of others, we have to be in check with ourselves. This is a critical leadership skill, especially in early childhood education, where emotions can run high and you're leading a diverse group of people. You're leading children, parents, staff, community members who all have experienced the world differently than you have, which means they have different perspectives. It's so important as a child care leader that you are consistently interacting with others who may be experiencing a variety of emotions, from stress to excitement or frustration. How you respond to these emotions, not just your own, but those of others, can either make or break the effectiveness of your leadership. A high IQ helps you navigate these interactions with empathy and composure, leading to better relationships, more effective decision-making, and definitely a more positive program culture. In early childhood education, EQ is essential because emotional well-being of your staff directly impacts the care provided to your children. And when you model emotional regulation and empathy, you help create an environment where both staff and children feel safe, supported, and understood. How do you do this? Well, start by becoming aware of your own emotional responses. Do you get defensive when someone challenges your ideas? Do you feel overwhelmed or easily get stressed when things get chaotic? Because they will. If you're running an early childhood center, there will be times it's chaotic. Hopefully controlled chaos, but chaotic nonetheless. Acknowledging these patterns help you stay in control of your emotions. Try journaling about your emotional responses in different situations. For example, after a parent complaint, or reflect on how it made you feel. Were you angry? Were you defensive? I know that certainly has happened to me because we're human. What could you have done to better manage those feelings? And sometimes it's reaching out to other people to get different perspectives. You know, if you have one parent who constantly complains about a particular, area of your program, but you have 20 other parents who are really happy about that area of your program, that will really help you keep things in perspective. Now, on the flip side of that, if you have 20 families that are not happy about a particular aspect of your program, then you probably have to look at that and then deal with your feelings about that and then come up with a solution. Empathy is not just about feeling what others feel, but understanding their perspective. When you're dealing with staff who are stressed, instead of reacting immediately, pause and ask them questions like, I understand you're feeling overwhelmed. Can you tell me more about what's going on? This shows them that your feelings are in line with theirs and that their feelings are valid, and it opens up space for more constructive dialogue. And when things are emotionally charged in those situations, please take pause before reacting. Take a deep breath or counting to 10. It can really help you respond with a calm, clear voice. For instance, here's an example. If a parent expresses concern about their child's progress, rather than reacting defensively, take a moment to empathize with their concern and then respond thoughtfully. And certainly pay attention to body language, both your own and others. Nonverbal communication often conveys more than the words ever will. Are your arms crossed in the meeting? If they are, you're signaling that you are defensive. Are you making eye contact and nodding when someone is speaking? When you do, it shows that you're aligned and you're engaged. Becoming more in tune with nonverbal communication helps you connect with others on a more deeper level. When was the last time your emotional response influenced the situation either positively or negatively? Think about that for a minute. How might you handle the similar situation differently in the future? So here's some action steps for you. Think about an upcoming meeting, which I have one tomorrow. Interact where emotions might be high. Before the meeting, practice emotional regulation techniques like deep breathing or visualization of a calm response. Pay attention to how your emotional intelligence shapes the conversation. As we wrap up, we're going to get into strategy number 3. Empowering your team to lead. I love this strategy. Effective leadership is not just about leading. Effective leadership is not about doing everything yourself. It's about developing leaders in others. As a childcare leader, your success depends on your ability to empower your team members to take ownership of their roles and contribute to the overall success of the program. It's so important because when you empower your team, you foster a culture of collaboration, respect, and shared ownership. And I love when people take ownership in their program. And you will too. When team members feel empowered, they become so much more engaged and proactive, which ultimately benefits the children you serve and your business. As a leader, you can't scale your impact unless you have others to help grow. Empowering your team to lead also creates a sense of ownership within your program where people feel like they're contributing to the larger purpose. They're more motivated. They're invested in the work. I hear you all say, sometimes I feel like the folks just show up and they just punch in and punch out. You have to give them meaningful work. You have to give them a variety of tasks, which means delegating some of the things that you have. It also ensures that your program thrives. When team members can lead in your absence, your program remains strong and dynamic. And if you want to get out there and continue to grow yourself as a leader, you may need to step out of your building. And you need to know your team members are capable, are plugged in, are ready to run the ship just as if you were there. And so that means you've got to let go of some things. You have to delegate meaningfully. Start by delegating not just the tasks, but also the decision-making responsibilities. And sometimes that's hard for all of you, I know. When someone comes to you with an issue or a problem, ask them, how do you think we should handle that? Allow them to take ownership of the problem or project and initiate that strength and growth within your team. This not only relieves the burden from you, but it also helps them grow and feel valued. Like, you want to know what I think? Yes, I do. One of the most effective ways to empower your team is to give them some autonomy to make decisions within the area of their expertise. When you empower your staff, you begin to see them as leaders, and they begin to see themselves as leaders. And when that happens, that's when the magic happens. So look for ways to involve your team in leadership roles. Perhaps they can have the lead and be the lead of the team meeting. I know I don't always want to be the one talking at the meetings. Honestly, I would love to go to a meeting where I don't have to say much at all. Take care of specific classroom initiatives, or your staff can even mentor newer staff. I love that model. When staff take on more responsibility, they develop leadership skills and feel more engaged. So create opportunities for staff to step into roles such as training new employees, helping with the onboarding process, even being part of the welcoming committee. Leading curriculum planning sessions, I know that's something that many teachers love to do. And I love seeing them all kind of come together and feed off each other's ideas. That really does create such a rich environment and rich curriculum that has lots of teaching philosophies embedded in it and lots of different teaching experiences embedded in it. So by giving staff the space to lead, you're fostering a team of individuals who contribute meaningfully to your program's success. Now, you want to also give them some feedback and recognition. You want to regularly provide constructive feedback to your team, pointing out where they succeeded, because I know it's really easy for you to find those areas of improvement. Make sure you're pointing out where they succeed. Recognize their efforts, even the small wins. Like if somebody calls out a lot and this week they showed up every day, I know that you're saying, well, they should. That's their job. That's what I pay them for. And that's true. But for some folks, it takes a little bit more effort than others. So even the small wins, I appreciate you making an intentional effort on improving your attendance here, because it's so important. When everyone is in, the center runs more smoothly. It reduces stress on the children, the parents, and your coworkers. And gosh, we really love having you here. You bring such a wonderful energy to our toddler room. So an example like that, reinforce those positive behaviors and motivate them to continually lead with confidence. I don't know about you, but I love the look on a face when a teacher feels really good about something they just did. It really does fill my cup. And the more that happens, the easier it is to not focus on, the fires that you might have had to put out in the day. Maybe you might have had to put out 1 or 2 fires, but how many interactions did you have in the day where you saw the spark in a teacher or the spark in a child? Or even a parent that you helped. I love that too, when you give parents some help or some feedback around, helping their child with the milestone. Here's a reflexive question I'd love to ask you. What is one area in which you can empower your staff today to make a more positive impact in your program, whether it's taking on more responsibility or leadership? And when I say leadership, I want to really just be really clear, because I use that word a whole heck of a lot on this podcast. When I say leadership, I'm not just talking about the admins or the lead teachers. I'm talking about every person in your program can lead. And if they're not leading, they should be leading. You should be helping them in the areas that they're struggling in, and you should be helping them in the areas that they're good at. And where they're good at, let them fly, let them take the lead. We have this thing in our head that we have to do everything and be everything to everyone, but we don't. We really don't. We can allow others to help lift that weight and run a great program. So here's an action step. I want you to identify just one staff member, just one, that you can empower by delegating a responsibility or giving them a leadership role. This could be as simple as asking them to lead that meeting or to take on that project. Have a conversation with them about this opportunity and offer your support. And I hope you do. And you know what I'm going to ask? I'm going to ask if you are in our leadership group, and if you're not, hop on over to Facebook and join our leadership group. If you're in our leadership group, I want to hear about that one staff member that you empower this week, what you gave them, and how did they do? So before we wrap up today, I want you to remember these 3 strategies. Raise your own lid with continuous improvement. Cultivate your emotional intelligence and empower your team to lead. Each of these strategies can be put into action today, and as you grow, so too will your effectiveness as a leader. Your leadership capacity sets the tone for the entire program, and when you raise your lid, your team and the children you serve will thrive as well. Thank you for listening to the Childcare Director Chair Podcast. I hope you feel inspired to take the next step in your leadership journey. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with an early childhood leader who could benefit from these strategies. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep making a difference.